Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. It's so good to see you, everyone. My name is Susanna Lewandowska, and I'm so privileged and so excited to be hosting a panel on philanthropy. Philanthropy is one of the very important components of us really working towards closing the gender gap, hopefully sometimes in the near future, and fighting for equality in both workplaces and everywhere we can imagine. Such an interesting perspective, and so I'm so grateful as someone whose life, 20 years of my life I have devoted to philanthropy and social impact. I'm a president and CEO of one of the largest philanthropical initiatives in Poland, which is called TVN Foundation, that belongs to the largest Polish private TV network. Warner Brothers Discovery owns it, we have had the opportunity over the past 23 years to achieve really great results because of the leverage we've had through media. And I am so excited that we have our esteemed panelists with us. Thank you so much for joining us. I have with me Carolina Müller-Mohl. You are chair of Müller-Mohl Group and also founder of Müller-Mohl Foundation, which has been operating for the past 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. We have Mischa Fritz, who is a prolific social activist and also co-founder of Viva Con Agua, which is an initiative supporting access to drinkable water worldwide. That's such a modest initiative. And we also have Laura Herrick, who's CEO of Wayfarer Foundation. You've been operating for maybe 3 years now, 4 years, with an ambitious goal. We'll talk about it because your angle is very, very, very interesting. And so what we would like to do over the very short 30 minutes we have is to really pick the brains of our panelists and really organize a little bit of a masterclass on how to best achieve the results in terms of gender equality through philanthropy. What are the best case scenarios? And also for those of you who are in Davos who are thinking about starting a philanthropy, what would be the best practices that our panelists can share with us? So let's dive in. A little bit of a warm-up. Oh, one thing I need to add is also that Kate Benken of Microsoft Philanthropy sadly needed to leave Davos today, so she was not able to join our panel, but I'm sure we'll be able to invite her next year. So anyway, it would be great for you to tell us a little bit about your initiatives. I would like to start with you, Carolina. You're such a prolific entrepreneur. By the way, Carolina is receiving an award tonight, so please bear with us. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, and you started an NGO on top of your business endeavors. You started an NGO that actually specifically works for women empowerment, for gender equality. Each of your NGOs has a different history and angle. Tell us, please, what was the rationale behind you starting that NGO specifically in that domain?
Exactly. So I started my philanthropic actions actually long before, right, when I was a child and then as a student. And I'm always saying that both of my parents are psychiatrists. So at the core, and they ran their psychology practice in our house. So I was learning at a very early stage of my life that taking care about someone else is at the core of what I want to do. So maybe I want to say that first. And finally, I ended up as a student doing a lot of work in philanthropy. And then I got the chance in 2012 to build my own foundation. Although I had a lot of thinking behind that. There is about 14,000 foundations in Switzerland. And I didn't know whether I would want to add another one. I did add another one because people advising me said you should be doing that. People would not know what I was doing. I was doing too much stuff. So I added it, did my foundation first, started with 3 topics: education, the promotion of philanthropy at itself, and gender equality. Now, in 2021, after doing all that work in gender equality, I started to realize it needs more of me there. So that's why we came up with the Task Force of Women. One of the reasons is, and I don't know if the audience knows this, only 2% of philanthropic giving is going into women and girls projects.
We'll go back to, we'll have time to discuss
which is very little. So my foundation has not really given up on the other topics, but we are focusing on gender equality for that very reason. And the other reason, you know it, you heard it probably 1,000 times while sitting in this audience. The gender gap report of the World Economic Forum is telling us it's going to take another 134 years. And we're adding every year, we're adding another year to it. So we're not going in the right direction. So taking all this into account and knowing that literally 50% of the population are women, 4 billion women out there. I said, okay, I am going to focus on that work. I'm going to put all of what I have, all of what I
and we
can
thank
bring
you for
to
that.
the table.
We love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate your contribution. And then, meanwhile, since we are at statistics, we will talk about the fact that philanthropical endeavors are so underfinanced in terms of gender equality. We will go back to that. But then, meanwhile, 2 billion people live without access to clean water. And it is interesting because based on the example of Misha's NGO, but also Laura's, you don't need to really set up an NGO specifically working towards gender equality or women specific to be able to work towards gender equality, which is good because we can multiply that, right? And so tell us, please, how your initiative is aligned with gender equality, and what is the relationship there, and how do you make sure that it is, stressed out?
First of all, I want to say that it's really thin ice under me, and I got warm socks because I'm the only guy here, so I can fuck it up. But I can only sit here because of my wife, who was a radical teacher, and I think everything is so connected in this world. And every day, 200 million hours women and children use for getting water. So it's so connected to all what they later will do, what they concerning their school activities, concerning their hobbies and everything. So it's everything connected with each other. You can't say you're an activist for water without being also somebody who's supporting equality or minorities or whatever. So I think the job we have to do is make simple, sexy, social, scalable solutions for the people and make it more like a little bit more fun, activating and rockstar level, so that people really get engaged into social engagement and communities and creating something. Don't get me wrong, but Elon Musk should be a social rockstar and not a right-wing rock star, yeah. So this is a problem, and we need other narratives. Huh?
He thinks he's both.
He thinks a lot, but sometimes still too little.
Fair enough. I mean, we can discuss that on another panel, maybe. Laura, I really enjoyed looking into Wayfarer Foundation because it has such an interesting angle. You partner with organizations that have a spiritual and ethical outlook to them. Can you tell us a little bit how you make sure that within that specialization, if I may say, you make sure that gender equality is being stressed?
Yeah, so Wayfarer started because Steve Sarowitz, who is a billionaire philanthropist, he actually already had a family foundation, but he became a Baha'i about 9 years ago, and he really wanted to look at what does spiritual giving look like. And so I actually started as a consultant for him, and his goal basically was world peace. just an audacious goal, just world peace. And so as we looked at what his mission, vision, values were, and what are the obstacles to peace, or what is going to get us closer to peace, we basically identified 7 focus areas. And so how are we going to get to peace? Racial justice, gender equality, universal education, empowering youth, embracing the arts, economic prosperity, and religious harmony. And so those were the areas that he wanted to be able to focus on. But when we look at the programs that we support, we look at, are there 4 areas that they're progressing in at any given time? Are they progressing socially, materially, spiritually, and with character progress? And if you want to talk to me about what that looks like more, I'm happy to talk to you about it later. But it has been really fascinating to talk to organizations about what does spirituality look like for them. So we're not the ones defining spirituality, but I think that that's one of the missing components. And certainly, we haven't really talked about it, the last 2 days, but there has to be something, we have to be able to honor the interconnectedness that that belongs to all of us, whether it's the water, whether it's animals, whether it is the human connectedness that we all have. And if we can't honor that, then we're not going to make progress with gender equality. We're not going to make progress.
I love that. Okay, so I would like us to move, thank you. I would like us to move to really maybe depicting or trying to give some examples to our audience on what really actually works. So I'd like for you to imagine me as a CEO thinking of starting an initiative supporting gender equality, being it a separate philanthropy or just as much as a program in support of women. I actually remember what we spoke, and there is a differentiation between programs supporting women and program targeting gender equality. And bearing that in mind, what kind of example would you give to our audience to take away home and bring to their respective countries to implement? What would be the thing that, based on your experience, works? Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I think we have to realize it isn't easy, right? And I had to come to realization it's not an easy thing. And you're not going to win a popularity prize if you work in gender equality. The contrary is the case, sometimes you get excluded from things, as I just mentioned a little story before coming here. So that's the first thing. You have to realize if you want to work for gender equality, it's not going to be a walk in the park. So what we have been doing is, first of all, we looked at the root causes why there is gender inequality. And the root causes, we would say, we will see them on 3 levels. One is the cultural level, one is the systemic level, and the other one is the individual level. And we have to work on all of these 3 levels. It's not good to just fix the woman. And then again, we can't fix culture so fast. These culture shifts, these changes, they're just going to take ages till we are coming from a patriarchal system. And now we have all these guys going about masculinity and stuff. You mentioned one guy
that our
just
businesses
now,
are
right?
lacking. Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take many, many years, as we know. So we have to work on the cultural level, we have to work on the systemic level, and we have to work on the individual level.
Where do I start?
My program, what we're doing is we sat down, did a lot of thinking, and we said we have to really structure our work. So we're gonna do it holistically. We're looking into 6 different fields: economy, politics, culture, media, science, and the society as a whole. And we created a 5 or 4-part scalable program. We collect data. Data is always important, right? We create tools, like an award, for example, like directories where women are shown, because always the people always say we can't find these women's. We communicate on all of the different channels that are available. And last but not least, we create events of all sorts, from panels to workshops to congresses, larger and smaller events. So actually you can connect the dots. I was just talking to a friend of mine here in the audience. She works for menopause, for the topic menopause. And I told her, you have to talk to AYZ that I met here, because everyone is doing something on a grassroots level, and that's not going to help the cause. We have to come together and we have to share notes.
Fair enough.
I hope I answered your question, right?
Yes, you have, ma'am. Yes, of course. But so how can philanthropies change the system? This is still the same question about what's the best case scenario for anyone who wants to get involved. But it's tricky because systems are not in the hands of philanthropies or NGOs, right? We can push, we can lobby, or we can do stuff. But how can we tackle that? Because we all say, oh, it's about systemic changes. It's not about, But then, what can we do specifically? What in your opinion, Misha?
If you want to change anything, use people who have no idea. Use creative people, artists, musicians who think completely different, who ask different questions. Not people who already invented a car. They will come up with 4 wheels and one what's called steering wheel, blah, blah, blah. So come up with people who have no idea about car invention. So you need also people who have no idea about philanthropical and support the just upcoming flowers, the very pure ideas, the very agile young people that are on the ground. If you have money, give your money to them. If you have a lot of reach on social media, give your reach. If you have contacts, give your contacts. And don't wait till they ask you, because it's a fucking hard job, and I don't hang around in my office and all the people coming to me. I have to do my job every day, but support them. So if you have any means in supporting, give it to young people and start something with them together. So you learn from them and they learn from you. And use the power of the economic and use always something with purpose. If you don't do purpose, come on, go home, please. We're in the 21st century. We have so many problems. I can put them up. If you don't do purpose, come on, go home, please.
Okay, so if you want to change the system, you need to involve people who think outside of the box. That makes absolute sense. So how outside of the box, but that's the spiritual outlook, how much can it be helpful in us understanding where to go in terms of gender equality, in terms of philanthropy?
Yeah, so one of the things that we believe strongly at the Wayfarer Foundation is in the nobility of every human being and their right and responsibility to contribute to the material and spiritual prosperity of their communities. And so that's one of the things that we found is that there's great wisdom in the communities themselves. And so let me give you an example. There's this incredible organization in Guatemala called the Maya Impact School. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but you should check it out. So in Guatemala, less than 10% of indigenous women finish high school. At the Maya Impact School, 96% do. Less than 2% go to college. At the Maya Impact School, 70% of them go to college. Less than 2% are economically autonomous. At the My Impact School, a third within 6 months are economically autonomous. But here's why. Because most of the young ladies after 6th grade, they no longer receive an education. Well, they reach out to all of the young ladies in 6th grade and say, would you like to continue your education? If they do, they reach out to their families and they have a weekly mentor who works with their families. These young ladies are, in the culture, you don't look your father in the eye, you look down, you don't speak. They have to take voice lessons. But guess what they do in these voice lessons? They have podcasts where they interview incredible women from all over the world, because one of their theories is if you can see it, you can be it.
Absolutely.
When they're learning Spanish, they're reading books of incredible women, and that's how they're learning how to speak Spanish, right? So they have all of this mentorship because they're considered girl pioneers. And yes, they also work with other communities to show them what it is that they're doing. But the wisdom is there. And by the way, all of their teachers are indigenous women because they want them to see where we can do this. We can do this too. And I can give you examples from all over the world of these types of grassroots organizations that, yes, then we network, right, with each other so that they can share their learnings and continue to thrive and mentor each other. But we have to be able to trust the wisdom that's there.
Perfect. Thank you.
And invest in it.
And invest. Oh, by the way, I'm
Give
going back
money
to
to
Carolina. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think what's really most important is commitment isn't enough. We have to have doers in the room. We have to have real leaders in the room. And there are actually some sitting here. So I had a fabulous conversation with a friend of mine. He's a rally, and I said he should be actually sitting on this panel today because he has changed it within a company. He has had the idea idea. I want to have 50% women in my company. When he started, he had 30. And when he left, he had 50 because he just did it, right? So we need to have these leaders. We need to have leaders that are convinced that we want to include the 4 billion women in the world. We want to have them in the workspace. And by the way, it's not asking for more money in the country. You know, companies that have more women on the board usually operate better. So they are going to be more successful. And maybe on one point, so like we have to have the right leaders. We have to have the doers there. We have to have people taking commitment, walking their talks and doing it.
Okay,
so
but
my foundation is now involved with 50 different projects. I don't know if all the 50s are going to work, and then on all of these levels, on the cultural level, on the systemic level, and on the individual level. So you got to really work it all around. You got to shake it and drift it, and be part of. Just do it, right?
Doesn't
it says what brand is it? I don't know.
Yeah, but
Nike. Just do it.
Maybe I have
very short.
Maybe I have a small solution, because if the people just pay taxes and give the taxes to the 50% of the humanity, like women, and scientifically proved in everything in the development world, philanthropical world, if you give the money to the women, it's not spent on bullshit. So it's spent for the family, it's spent for useful things. So it's very easy. Just pay taxes and give it to the women.
Well, we build villages, that for sure. But meanwhile, only around, there are different statistics, but around 2% of money going, philanthropical endeavors go to gender equality. We know that closing the gender gap would give us about $12 trillion into the economy. So the economic outlook, like the economic argument is right there. So why does it happen that the financing is so small, really, relatively to the need and to the data that tells us it's a good direction to take? Laura.
So I'll try to tell this story quickly, but there's a modern day fable where there's this giraffe that has this beautiful home, and it's won the Giraffe Architectural Award, and he decides to go to his friend the elephant and say, oh, I have this great woodworking shop, and I know that you're so great at woodworking, please come to my home. Well, when the giraffe gets there, surprise, it can only fit its head in because it's built for a giraffe. And it says, oh, no problem, I can take the bolts off. So there's the elephant doing woodworking. The giraffe gets a phone call. He goes upstairs. He says, make yourself at home. Well, the elephant is finished with the woodworking, goes to do some more woodworking. Boom, oh no, he knocks some stuff over. He goes inside. He's knocking more stuff over. He goes upstairs to tell the giraffe, oh no, I've messed some stuff up. He starts breaking the stairs, right? The giraffe comes down. He says, oh, I see what happened. You're too heavy. No problem. Just start exercising, and then you won't have a problem at all. And I see what's happening with the stairs. You're just not light enough on your feet. You just need to take some ballet lessons, right? And the elephant says, I'll do all of those things, but I just don't think your house was made for me.
Aww.
And I think that that's the problem, is that sometimes we think that we have to bend ourselves into knots, right, to try to fit into a system that wasn't made for us. And if instead we take the brilliant architectural mind of the giraffe and the incredible skills of the elephant, and we say, how about we work together to build something new, something innovative, something that would work not just for us, but maybe even the zebras and the muskrats, right? Let's get everybody involved. We could build something incredible, but we're so attached to this won an award. This worked before. Well, it's a new day, friends.
I know that you were very passionate about this topic,
Well,
Carolina.
because it's shocking, right? I mean, the 2% is just shocking. All the numbers are shocking, but we are not going to solve it if we just look at the shocking numbers, right? We have to change them. And it's good to raise awareness for the shocking numbers because people don't know about it. But I think there is probably a couple of reasons that we can add to what you just were saying. Beautiful story, by the way. Okay, let's say there's a table, there's about 10 men around the table. We say we're going to have a 50-50 round there. 5 men must leave the table. This is very simple math.
Come back. I have a question for you. Come back.
And I'm sorry, I'm not very good at math, but that is very simple math. And so this is what happens. There is a large resistance for change out there. And there is not enough male leaders that want to create that kind of change. Although they know the number, you know, McKinsey and Boston Consulting and everybody, they have been saying it would be better to include the 4 billion women in whatever we do. So there is a large resistance, and that's why we need to find a couple of moonshots. Anyone in here, please come and talk to me. I would love to hear your ideas about it. Second, we have to find the nudges. Right? We have to make it fun. It needs to be cool for them to leave the
Is
table.
it though?
They need to find something else to do or whatever.
What would you
Right?
suggest?
So I think that's really, we have to find proper, cool solutions. It's a system change. We are really fighting against very much ingrained ideas about what is the role of a woman, what is the role of a man. And we have to constantly put a new narrative out there by having women in the room, by changing law and legislation. We're about to change the Swiss tax law, I hope, because the Swiss tax law
have easy voting.
puts negative incentives for women to work. So, right, I mean, we have to, as I said before, we have to work on all of the levels, including the individual, which means we have to tell the young women out there, instead of looking for a rich husband, how about working? How about standing on your own feet?
But I think women want to work really. I mean, the
well,
rich husband
I mean,
thing
that's
is not really something that women are looking
entirely
for.
true for
Right.
for Switzerland.
Okay, maybe so. But you have opened actually the third round of questions, and I'm going to go to you straight, Misha. We only have 4 minutes left. So. But because we need to change the stereotypes around, but meanwhile we are facing global DEI backlash, backlash against gender equality on all these topics, which may slow us down. We have large companies such as Meta, Amazon, McDonald's, American Airlines, Walmart, you name it. Companies working on a global scale with hundreds of thousands of employees that are withdrawing completely or limiting their DEI policies in anticipation of Trump's presidency. They already had done it. So how does that pose a threat to the speed with which we can obtain change, and how does it change the role of philanthropy in it? Isn't it that the burden of the whole systemic change is now laying on the privately owned institutions such as yours? Misha, yeah.
Frankly speaking, I hope it's the last dance of the men, and the women already entered the rooms and the tables, and you can't take this development away. So it's only a question of time, and of course you need people who step down. Frankly speaking, I stepped down as the CEO of Viva Con Agua and in all power functions, and it's the best thing which happened to my life. I'm now a free radical in the cosmos and can do whatever I want, and don't have to be in any boring board member blah 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 meetings. So I think it's we need new heroes and narratives and structures to get the young people in the position to make it another place, because we fucked it up already.
I can totally understand that there is a backlash in D&I because it was becoming too complicated.
Okay.
You know, and everybody had their silos. You had the silo for for Asians, the silo for Black Americans, the silo and then another silo, and the silo for the handicaps, and they were all fighting for time, and they were all fighting, and they're still fighting for awareness for their specific problem, and so that was getting very difficult for these companies and the DI. People in there, having to have everyone on the table at all. So I'm a bit selfish here. Let's simplify it and just say we have men and women. and just concentrate on the 4 billion men and the 4 billion women that we want to include. It's a success story. It could be an incredible success story. I'm not saying that all the and by the way, women were becoming a silo too. And that's so crazy because we're not a minority. So I don't know, like I feel we're not a minority, and if every single woman in the world, especially the women that can, like and I can totally understand if you are brought up in a dictatorship or in Afghanistan or living in a place where it's very difficult to stand your woman. I'm talking about every probably woman in this room. If you do your gender equality work, if you make sure, if you're coming to a dinner at the World Economic Forum and you're the only woman in there, which happened to me about 2 days ago, you are going to write a letter to the CEO saying, thanks for dinner, but next time I bring my friends. You can do each of you can do the work. If the 4 billion women do their work, it's already, we will be advancing, and then we find some great men in there, some of them sitting here, and then we can shake this. I am convinced we can.
Okay, we have 30. Thank you. Thank you.
I
We have
just
30 seconds.
I just want to give a quick
Yep.
shout out to gender diverse individuals as well.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gender diverse individuals as well.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. We didn't have the time to really ask our panelists on what recommendations they would have to people interested in starting a philanthropy. So please feel encouraged throughout this evening to approach our esteemed guests and ask them questions if you're interested. I'm sure you will be very happy to provide a direction. It's been a pleasure, fun, and an interesting conversation for me personally. Thank you so much for your time, for being here with us. Thank you. Thank you.